I woke up this morning thinking about a couple that I talked to yesterday, and they were heavy on my mind. Two of the nicest people that you would ever want to meet. The guy was a little rough around the edges. I mean, he was what I call a Marlboro man. I mean, he was that doesn't mean he smoked. I mean, he was just a dude's dude. He was kind of rough. I mean, he didn't, he looked like one of those guys that'd probably be the last one in the bar standing. I mean, he looked like he wouldn't put up with a lot. And according to his wife, he wasn't. And I even sat and talked to the guy for a while, and he was a really nice guy, but he was a no-nonsense guy. But anyway, they were headed for divorce and possibly still are. And talking to him, he was clueless. I mean, he just absolutely was lost. Talking to his wife, it was money. I mean, that was a big thing. She told me, she said, he's rough. He's one of those guys that doesn't put up with anything. She said, when I'm with him, I feel protected. I feel safe. She said, he around me, she said, even though, you can tell he's doesn't play, the way he treats me is soft and kind and gentle. She said, he's a gentleman. She said, he opens up the door. She said, he always puts me first. She said, I do believe that if there was a bite of food left in the house, and he would give it to me. I mean, she said, this man, even after years of marriage, refuses to eat until I sit down at the table. And she said, he doesn't treat me like I'm weak. He does it because he respects me. And I said, well, it sounds like you got an awesome dude. She said, but the thing is he just, he doesn't make enough money. There's not enough money. And through talking to him, at one time, they were very, very, very much in love. But, y'all, there's an epidemic. I mean, there's an epidemic in this country that you just cannot even begin to imagine. Talking to her, and I'm not putting all the blame on her, but I'm just going to tell you exactly, what I found out. I mean, her girlfriends at work and people that she knew, they were going on nice vacations. Some of her girlfriends were getting newer vehicles, and she would hear about the things that they were doing, and she would hear about their 401ks and the way they were saving money, and they were buying crypto, and it was just money, 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 money. And I asked her, I said, some of these ladies that you socialize with and hang out with and work with that have all this money, are they happy? And she got the funniest look on her face. She said, I don't know. And I said, well, you act like that the big 401ks and the new vehicles and the new trucks and the new purses and the new clothes and the vacations and all the big homes and everything that they have is what you want because you think it makes them happy. I said, but are they really happy? How often do the husband and wives hang out together? How do the husbands treat the wives? And she said, a lot of them, the husbands and the wives, they don't hang out together at all. And truthfully, a lot of my girlfriends just aren't happy. Their husbands work all the time, and they just pass each other in the night. And it's going to take more counseling. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a lot more, but in the conversation, she began to see and admit that maybe life wasn't all about money. Maybe life was having a husband that opened the door, that wouldn't eat until she sat down, that would give her the last bite of food, that she was telling me that here recently she got pretty sick. She said she thought it was food poisoning, but she got pretty sick, and in the middle of the night in a rainstorm, her husband just left and went to an all-night drugstore and got her medicine and come back, and the next morning she felt a lot better. But looking back on it, she started crying, and she said, this man got up in the middle of the night in a rainstorm and went and got me medicine when he didn't have to. I said, why do you think he did it? She said, because he loves me. And it began to register with her. And I asked her, I said, money's nice. The things are nice. The homes are nice. And I said, I totally understand you looking around and seeing the cars and the clothes and the checking accounts and the 401ks and the crypto portfolios. I said, I understand all that looks good. I said, it looks good to me. I said, I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't. Y'all, I'm going to get a little sip of coffee out of my mug here that my son and my daughter-in-law bought me recently. We were out to eat, and they heard me asking the waitress about it. And these two kids are 21 years old. They're just starting out on life, just a short deviation from my original video. But they seen me talking to the waitress in the restaurant about how I like the cup and the design of it. And I'm big into coffee cups. And without me knowing, they snuck around and found out that they could buy one of these cups, and they just got it and gave it to me. It wasn't terribly expensive, but it was expensive to them because they're just starting out in life. They have a very limited budget. And y'all, I teared up. I really did. Because I truly feel like when somebody doesn't have much and they give you something, that means so much more than when somebody's super wealthy and they give you something. A super wealthy person giving up something, they don't feel the pain. When somebody doesn't have a ton of money and they give you something from the heart, it just means a lot. But anyway, back to what I was saying about the couple. I asked her, I said, what would you rather have? Would you rather have these big portfolios? Would you rather have the new vehicles and the clothes and the cars? And she looked at me and she said, I'd like to have it both. I'd like to have it all. And this was she and I counseling one-on-one. And I said, we all would. Wouldn't we all? I said, but in your situation, they're older. They've been married a long time. And, it's possible that he could start making a lot more money, but the chances are slim. He's pretty well established in his career, and she's pretty well established in her career. And, they do okay, but more than likely they'll never make a ton of money. And I said, if you had a choice, Would you rather have all the toys and the things, or would you rather have a man that would leave in the middle of the night and go to the drugstore and get you medicine and would baby you and take care of you? And she said that he randomly just brings her coffees and food up, to where she works. And I said, it sounds like you've got an awesome dude. And she said, I got so caught up, and I've been so caught up, and I listened to what my girlfriends are saying, that I think I kind of lost sight of the fact that I do have a good man. He is a good man. We may not have the huge portfolio. We may not have the biggest 401k. We might not have the biggest home. We might not have a lot of things that my girlfriends have. But I've got a good man. She said, I've lost sight of it. And she said the harder I pulled away, the more he tried to please me. And she said, it maybe out of guilt, she said, but it just aggravated me. It made me angry that he started trying even harder. She said, in a way, when I looked at him, I started to see him as weak, because he was already a good guy, but he began to try harder. He began to put me first and put himself last. And I said, are you listening to yourself? Do you really hear what you're saying? I mean, you've got a dude that treats you good, that's kind, that gives you everything that he's got, puts you first, puts his family first. He's not perfect. He's not the best. He's not GQ. But he's a good man. And she said, I really need to sit down and reevaluate how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. Do I really want this divorce? She said, I'm really, really, really starting to have a hard time. Y'all, take some time. Sit and think. Think about what you're doing. Think about it before you go head for divorce. Think about why you're doing it. Realize that the person that you're with is flawed. They're not perfect. You can't have everything. You just can't. You're going to give up one or the other. I mean, you just are. All this pie in the sky, and the next guy's greater, and the next life without my partner would be greater. Maybe it would be. I don't know. But usually it's not. Usually life is not better. Usually the grass is not greener on the other side. I couldn't tell you how many times that I have counseled couples and ladies and men, and especially the ladies would just get disgusted with the guy because he wasn't like what her girlfriends made their men out to be. And then later on down the road, after the divorce is final and everything's done got messy and terrible and lives are falling apart and families are destroyed, and they regret it. They regret it terribly, because they let somebody go that knew them, that knew their most private thoughts, their most private feelings, that knew every single thing about them, and they loved them anyway. They treated them good anyway. And life in general just didn't treat them good after the divorce. I have some guys that admit that too. But it's a big epidemic around women. Women love to, if they see a woman in a good relationship with a good man, they love to, especially single women, they love to just tear that relationship apart and make the woman feel like that she would be so much better off without the guy. What I'm saying, y'all, is think. Think. Sit down, think again. Get counseling. Work on it. The grass is not always greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. Sometimes you just got to step back and look. Sometimes you got to step back and think. Sit your partner down. Tell them how you feel. Talk to them. Explain things to them. Before you walk out that door, let them know how you feel, what you're thinking, why you're feeling what you're feeling, why you're thinking what you're thinking. Have an open dialogue. I'm telling you, so many divorces could be avoided with a lot, I'm not going to say a little, a lot of communication. You got to open up that communication line, and you also got to have two people that are willing to give in, they're willing to work together, that value their relationship and want to make it work. You got to have two people, because if you don't have two people, one person can't do it. I've seen that a lot, and I'm going to wrap this video up, but I've seen couples, and it'd be one person just trying, doing everything they could, and it just won't work. One person can't make a relationship work. They can try, they can do everything under the sun, and if they're the only one trying, that ain't gonna work. You gotta have two. You gotta have two that are willing to give in and compromise to make a relationship work. Y'all have a great day. Get you a hot cup of coffee. Climb that tree. The view from the top of the tree is a whole lot better than the view from the bottom. This is Coach Chris, over and out.